right, let's talk about AI chatbot and companion bot love. They come with features like voice calls, picture exchanges, and they can mimic emotional exchanges as well. So we did want to ask Winnipeggers to set up our next conversation if they think they could have a meaningful, loving relationship with artificial intelligence. CBC's Jim Agapito took that question to the campus at the University of Manitoba.
Dylan Marty.
Would you ever consider having AI chatbot as a friend?
No.
Why is that?
Because I think it's nearly impossible to duplicate human connection, particularly with generative text models. I think it's going to be really potentially dangerous to rely on AI as connection, as companionship, when there's already tons of companionship to be found in the world.
My full name is Sarah. Depressing, because I feel like that you have to be so lonely to actually think that, oh, I will just be myself and then talking with the computer programming instead of like having an actual friend, going out, having fun, something like that.
Maxwell Raymond phrase. Me personally, probably no, but I mean, it's everywhere, like on Snapchat, it's like the top thing is your My AI, so. But me personally, no. I don't know, I'm not into it.
My name is Kunal Jawahar Lalani. Again, it sounds like depressing, like people don't have real friends, so they are just making up new friends like AI to get some kind of communication and trying to replace somebody's need in their life.
Do you have any friends that do have relationships with AI? I'm curious.
I actually do have one, now that I think about it. She uses her AI as kind of like not confidant, but like with questions that she's too afraid to ask other people, she'll ask the AI first. I think it's kind of funny, but yeah. Like she knows it's not a real person and she's just kind of using it as like a double thing, but it's kind of funny because she'll ask a question about myself or about my girlfriend, and then the AI will spit out all this information that she's told her already, so it's kind of weird in that way.
There have been stories about people having companions, romantic relationships with AI. How do you feel about that?
I think I'm empathetic to people who need that or who rely on that, and hope that there's a way that they can reach out to others who can fill that need for them instead.
It's sad. I feel like you don't have to rely on a computer program to deal with your emotions and everything. There are people and we are human beings, we are social beings, we are made to interact with other human beings, we are made to feel that we have the heart. I think that's the thing. Yes, AI has brain, we have brain, but we have the heart, and then let's use the heart instead of using just a computer program. Yeah.
Hey, that was CBC's Jim Agapito talking to some of the Winnipeggers out who are on campus at the University of Manitoba. So as technology keeps evolving, we wanted to know if people can have a quote-unquote real relationship with AI, and does it pose any risk to the relationships you have in human life? Neil McArthur is here, Director of the Centre for Professional and Applied Ethics over at the University of Manitoba. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's start with what a lot of those folks said, at least. Is it necessarily sad if someone seeks out an AI relationship?
I have to admit, I don't think it's particularly sad. I think that if you look at the research, what it shows is that most people who do this are doing one of two things. Either they're experimenting, they're just sort of trying out this technology, they think it's going to be fun, or they're looking for a way of exploring fantasies or discussions or conversations that they don't feel they can have with other human beings. So I think right now we're not seeing a lot of research that says that, these are just, sad people who are desperate for connection. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you're lonely, I don't think it's your fault necessarily, and I don't think we should stigmatize people for that. But I also don't think that's necessarily the profile of the users.
The first person we heard from there also said it's potentially dangerous. Could it be? And if so, in what way?
It could be. It definitely could be. There's a couple of ways in which it could be dangerous. I mean, I think there's a lot of concern right now, and actually there's a lot of legislation being proposed because people are concerned that it might lead to some kind of psychosis in an extreme case. I think that's one concern. I think the other concern is just that it might negatively impact our human relationships, that it might make us, spoiled for the complexities of human relationships, or somehow just prefer these easy, affirming relationships with AI. I'm not sure that the right now we're seeing evidence of either of those things on a very large scale, but I think they're possibilities.
It's interesting because in sort of a parallel conversation, there was some years ago, there was a conference here at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, and a speaker came in to talk about sexual relationships. And it was talking about how young men, and there were studies done around this, but how young men would look online to access sort of pornography and sexual ideals, online. And then what happened to them was they were unable then to sort of feel sexual emotions toward their partners in real life, because the two things had been sort of, the comparisons had been made, and it's almost exactly the same thing. If you have the ideal boyfriend or girlfriend online or friendship, the danger is you're coming back to your real person. And as you described it, the complexities of humanity are different. Can you elaborate on that risk?
Yeah, I mean, so I'll just put my cards on the table. I also work on sexual ethics issues, and I'm a little suspicious of some of those claims that people make about the impact that pornography is having on human relationships. And I think I'm skeptical this is, as I said, having a huge impact on human relationships right now with AI as well. But I think if we want to sort of, look at the worst case scenario, I think the concern is that as you said, people will find that if they have someone to talk to who tells them they're brilliant all the time and they're great, and everyone else is so much dumber than they are, then why are they going to engage with human beings who, may be in a bad mood, may tell them things they don't want to hear? And yeah, I mean, I do think complexity is part of human relationships. I think that if these were the only relationships people were having, we might start to be concerned. I'm not sure right now that's the case.
How can someone have a meaningful romantic relationship with AI? Like, what would AI do to make someone feel that love connection?
Well, AI is definitely programmed to engage with you. And when you look at the specific, I mean, there are both, you can interact both with, the general chatbots we're used to, like ChatGPT and so on. But then there are also apps that are specifically designed for social connection and even for romantic and sexual connection. And so these bots are optimized to engage with you and to make you feel like you are having a meaningful connection. And so I think that it depends what we think is meaningful. I mean, I think people have all kinds of different connections. I think a lot of people feel like they have meaningful connections with their pets. I mean, are their pets human beings? No. Do their pets have all the complexities of human beings? No. Yet somehow we don't seem to worry that people feel like they have meaningful connections with their pets. People have what they think are meaningful connections with their sports teams, even though their sports teams don't know who they are. So I think, people can find meaning in all sorts of different relationships. I think this is just another instance of that.
My ears perked up when somebody was using the example that there's someone that was asking AI questions first that they might be too afraid to ask, someone in human life, kind of testing it out. But then that person, I think, rightfully pointed out that it's spitting back with you, to you, everything that you told it in the first place. So what's the caution there, or can somebody actually get good advice from AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you talk to your friend about someone they don't know, I think and get advice. I have this human relationship that's causing me problems. You're also just going to get back what you've already told them because they don't have access to any other information. So I don't worry about that inherently. I do think privacy is a big issue. I think that we need to keep in mind that most of these companies are not exactly obsessed with user data privacy, that most of these companies, actually, there have been studies done that show that most of them have actually pretty terrible privacy policies. And so I do think people need to be well informed about the risks as far as, sharing intimate data with these bots, because these companies don't necessarily have their best interest at heart when it comes to privacy.
What are the benefits of using AI for the relationships then, just to make sure we get enough of the positives in here, in your view?
First of all, I think it's fun. I think if you look at why most people are doing it, I think that they're doing it because they enjoy it. And, things that are fun are things that we should value. I think that, again, a lot of the research shows that people are using it as a safe space to explore. They want to explore things in relationships that maybe they don't feel comfortable with human beings, or they're exploring their own identity. And I think that's really important, because we still live in a society where there's lots of stigma around all kinds of, marginalized identities and marginalized practices. And so I think that's really important. And I do think that, we shouldn't neglect the fact that some people really are isolated or lonely or not finding the kinds of connections they want. And so I think if people can find an alternative source of connection rather than nothing, that's probably better than nothing.
What's your advice for someone of what they might keep in mind if they decide to move forward with exploring AI in the ways we've been talking about?
I would say just try to inform yourself. Try to, keep in mind what these things are, how they work, as near as you can understand them. Keep in mind the risks of privacy, and then ultimately make sure that you're checking in with other human beings, and they know. I think one of the things we want to do is remove the stigma from these relationships, because we want to make sure people can talk to their friends and their therapists and their teachers and their parents about these, so that because I think a lot of the times when we've had really tragic, problematic behavior associated with these bots, it's people who just are too afraid to even tell other human beings that they're engaging with these bots, and so no one can notice the red flags. So just be open and don't be afraid. And if someone comes to you to talk to you about this, be open to them and don't stigmatize.
Interesting times we live in. I don't think I would have ever said, Neil, I'd have a conversation like this when I consider I started in journalism when the internet was just beginning to be a thing, right?
You and me both.
Yeah.
You and me both.
Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
That's Neil McArthur, Director of the Center for Professional and Applied Ethics over at the University of Manitoba. We reached him this morning on CBC via Zoom.